AEW Collision was last night. I am going to cover that and give you my thoughts on the show. I'm also going to be talking about Smackdown and its ratings for both last Friday Night Smackdown's episode and this past Friday Night Smackdown's episode. And some more pro wrestling news here on Screw the Script. Welcome back, everybody, to Screw the Script. I'm your host, as always, Maverick here. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday night is when you'll be watching this. But if you're from outside the States, maybe very early Monday morning, or whenever you end up joining me in this video, I'm going to be covering some very juicy, interesting news when it comes from the world of pro wrestling in this video, mainly on the topic about SmackDown. I'm going to cover Collision right after that, and then some interesting, and like I said, juicy. I'm excited for this sort of news that I'll get at the tail end of this video, so stick around for that. If you're new here, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm very close to 1,000 subscribers. If you've been watching for a minute and you haven't realized that you've subscribed, I would much appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it right here. First off, we're going to just get the ugly out of the way first, and we'll talk about all the good after. Friday Night Smackdown. Last week, for its Halloween episode, right up here, it had the lowest viewership in history. It was an average of 933,000 viewers. The first time in history that has fallen below 1 million viewers. That is from Programming Insider, so this is legit source. It's not rumors. Obviously, it's been well over a week since that episode, and I double-checked, and I didn't want to cover it right away because, numbers can be misleading, and I also wanted to see if maybe it was just a fluke episode, but this more recent episode of SmackDown, I will be shocked if they gain, a huge chunk back, because it was really, really bad. Not only are these numbers from the Halloween episode of SmackDown really bad for SmackDown, because we're talking about WWE here, a show, a promotion that's been around for decades. SmackDown is their 1B show that's been around also for decades, and like they said in this post, first time ever that it's fallen below 1 million. That is really bad. There is no good outcome, no good outlook that you can get from this unless you are just a diehard WWE stan that just wants to deny and deny and deny. That 2025 has been a really, really bad year for WWE, and it's only continuing to get worse. And that's proof for SmackDown right there. But look at this. SmackDown from a couple of nights ago. Cage match ratings. I know that's only about, 60 viewers or 60 votes. I know it's not a whole lot, probably because most people don't even want to take out the time of their damn day to go in there and fucking vote for just atrocious show. Friday Night Smackdown, I love SmackDown. When I got into pro wrestling way back in 1998, I was a SmackDown guy over Raw. I always rooted for the underdog show on weekly television for WWE. I was Team SmackDown. I was always Team SmackDown for Survivor Series. So it pains me to say this, but SmackDown, I think, right now, is probably the worst pro wrestling TV show on all television. It's worse than Collision. It's worse than Dynamite, way worse than Dynamite, and it's even worse than Raw. It's worse than NXT. TNA is doing better. New Japan Strong, you name it. SmackDown, I think, is at the very bottom of all of those shows. It is that bad. And you can see it right here in the ratings from people on Cage Match. You can say Cage Match is biased. I'll give you that if you really believe that. I personally don't. But even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt of that, you can go on alternate social media apps, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. It is a resounding negative review week in and week out for SmackDown. It is fucking awful. And the ratings from Halloween and the review so far from SmackDown 2 nights ago is legit proof that it is a failure for pro wrestling right now in WWE. The only thing that I think WWE can get from this awful year of 2025 is for John Cena's final match. If in fact it does somehow end up being Edge, I think personally That is the only option, especially when right up here they show that they apparently have uploaded the full story of Cena versus Edge to their YouTube channel. There's a lot that can be read into this. Are they purposely hinting on this possibly being true? Is this their only option of giving to pro wrestling fans like myself that I watched their entire feud in my childhood and my early like middle school teen years and such? Is this all they're going to give us? Or is Edge going to actually come back? I see this as a win-win for AEW. Here's why. The one side of the coin, that's a win. If this happens, that means that Tony Khan was such a good owner of AEW and loves pro wrestling so fucking much that he is willing to lend Edge, Adam Copeland, to WWE just to complete a farewell tour for arguably the greatest wrestler of all time when it comes to accolades, when it comes to presence, whether it was on TV for wrestling or even in the movies now. John Cena is that guy. And if Tony Khan gives WWE, gives Triple H Edge for even just a month to complete this final match, that would be a huge W for AEW. Because it would probably get a lot of eyes on the product, a lot of new eyes, a lot of people thinking, hey, you know what? That was a damn nice move by Tony Khan. I'm going to let go of my grudge and not wanting to support a new company, and I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to watch it. And even if those people don't like it, some probably will, and that is good for AEW. And on the other side of the coin, the flip side, if this does not actually follow through with WWE, if they don't get Edge and it ends up being fucking Braun Breaker or some bullshit, it is a monumental fail. It's just as bad, and I know some of you might not agree with this when I say this, but to compare, on AEW's side, it is just as bad as the Devil storyline. I personally think that it would have only been really, really over and gone really well with pro wrestling in AEW's history if the Devil would have been CM Punk all along, screwing over. But it wasn't. It wasn't even MJF himself. It was Adam Cole. We know the story. Cole with his injury issues. The whole thing was just a fail. It was probably one of the worst things for AEW in its short history. This tops that 100%. This is tenfold way worse because, like I said a minute ago, this guy, John Cena, is literally your best, arguably your best wrestler in all of WWE history. And that is a huge say. There are so many greats. Even the guy behind me, Shawn Michaels, who's my personal favorite. But I know when it comes down to, like I said, accolades and feuds and all of that stuff, in the vast majority of fans, the popular vote is going to go to John Cena. And if you can't capitalize on his farewell tour, you already failed, in my mind, you already failed with his heel turn. I said months ago on this channel, I was shocked when it happened. I really was. Many people were. It looked to be insane for the press, for WWE. It got a lot of eyes, I'm sure. But then a few months passed down the line, and he just, did a 180, and I think that really failed the heel turn. I said months ago that if you're going to commit to a John Cena heel turn, which hasn't happened in over 20 years, you need to fucking commit. And they didn't. They pussied out, essentially. And so they failed there with that, and now if they can't get Edge, it's a huge fail for John Cena's farewell tour. TKO President Mark Shapiro says WWE needs to take the torch and move past PLEs created by Vince McMahon. I hate this. Here's why. Yes, Vince McMahon is a piece of shit. We all know that. But to take away, the way that I read this, essentially Mark Shapiro wants to take away the namestay staple PLEs that have been in WWE for a long time, since I was a little child watching it and fell in love with it. Does this mean they're going to get rid of Royal Rumble? Are they going to rename WrestleMania to WrestlePalooza? What does he mean by this exactly? Obviously, I'm just mumbling here and taking my thoughts on it when I read that, but what are they doing? That's just another fail, I think, if you're going to get rid of Survivor Series. They already got rid of some of them. I mean, I miss Armageddon. I miss No Mercy on the main card. I believe they still have No Mercy for NXT. I could be wrong there, but They've gotten rid of so many other great names already. If they get rid of more and replace it with names like WrestlePalooza and whatever else they want to do, I think that's just not a good look for WWE. It's going to really piss off older fans like myself that have been around for over, 20 plus years since I've been watching pro wrestling. I don't think that's a good look either. You can continue to read on the rest of that if you want to pause it, but that's all I really had to say about that. WWE has a serious aging problem with the roster that needs to be addressed. I've been saying this for a long time on my channel, so I had to include this in this video because someone made a chart here. Look at this. The average age in 2025, look at that. Cody Rhodes, Roman, Cena, Orton, Gunther, Rollins, Punk, McIntyre, Owens, Uso. That's a list there of names that are featured weekly on Raw, SmackDown. They are their top talent that's always on the shows. Their average age is 41 and a half years old. That's 10 years older than me. Back in 2000, The Rock, Stone Cold, Taker, Foley, Triple H, Angle, Shawn Michaels, Kane, Jericho, Big Show. And honestly, I would throw Randy Orton over there if you just bumped that to age in 2005, because Randy Orton did a lot when he was very, very young. He was, 22 when he won that title? Youngest at the time. That average age lists over 32.3, almost 10 years less. So this proves my point that I've made on my channel in the past, where they have an age issue. Their top wrestlers that are featured weekly on Raw and SmackDown that get the most spotlight are all fucking old. They're slow, and their matches show it. CM Punk gasses out 3 minutes in. It's slow. Jey Uso can't hit a super kick to save his fucking life. He's slow. So many more of these guys are slowing down. Kevin Owens has got a fucking gray beard, like Skyrim shit, basically. Randy Orton, every time he hits an RKO now, his fucking back seizes up. Cody Rhodes and Roman are starting to get up there in age too. I mean, the list goes on. You can see it. Seth Rollins is going to be 40 soon. This is a huge issue with WWE. This is why it's hard for me to watch their shows, to watch their PLEs, because their PLEs are watered down. They're safe, if you want to call it that, like some people want to call it that. But it's only safe because they realize that half their roster now are guys that would be retiring if they were in like the NFL, if they were in NHL, John Cena would have retired years ago if this was the NFL. Same with Orton, same with Punk. And even the guys that are hitting 40, not everybody in NFL plays until they're 40. Most don't. So this is just proof right there that their average age needs to drop. Now on to AEW news for the remainder of this video. We're going to cover Collision, and then we're going to get on to some exciting AEW news that has me hopeful for something in the future for AEW. But let's get right into Collision. Here's that card. And notice that. Already, just by looking at the card, way better than SmackDown. They actually have more than 4 matches. I think SmackDown had 4 matches on Halloween, I believe. Or maybe it was this past Friday. And only in like one match was like 3 minutes. I looked up the time, and that the SmackDown this past Friday didn't even have 45 minutes of wrestling for their long show. It was really, really slow. Unlike here, for Collision, they got right into it immediately. And man, oh man, was this a fucking great show. Collision has been doing really, really well in 2025. I just hope that at some point the ratings translate to that, because I really think people are missing out watching it live. I enjoy watching it live. I know it's a lot tougher because it's a Saturday night. People are out doing stuff, whether you're going to parties, like last weekend for Halloween, what have you, out to the bars, watching other sports. I get it. But Collision is really good. You opened up with the Bang Bang Gang versus FTR. Really, really fun tag team match. And man, oh man, was it exciting and a thrilling way to end, seeing the Bang Bang Gang win. They beat FTR. We saw Jet Speed come out and kind of help them. And one other team that I'm blanking on while I'm talking here. But they helped FTR lose. And that was a great opening tag team match. It was honestly better than anything that happened on SmackDown. Then right after that, I believe they followed it immediately with the Fletcher and Ace Austin TNT Championship match. If you have not seen that match, if you want to watch anything from this Collision and just skip the rest, if you're, short on time, watch that title match as TNT champ. Him and Ace Austin could go for 45 minutes and I wouldn't get bored. I actually really hope to see Ace Austin in the Continental Classic tournament. I think he would shine really well in that. That was a really fun match. Kyle Fletcher does come out on top at the end, but man, beautiful work by both of them. Harley Cameron and Tekla had a really good match as well. I honestly thought this match was going to go under 5 minutes, but, this is AEW, not SmackDown or Raw. Harley Cameron really gave it to Tekla, but in the end, Tekla does win. And so it looks like it went to a tiebreaker, Sky Blue versus Jamie Hayter for the advantage match, which happened immediately after, and the crowd was fucking for it. They were lights out hyped all night long, and it was brilliant to see. I believe Jamie Hayter came out on top, so the women get the advantage in that blood and guts match. We saw TJ in action, really the only thing to just glance over on this Collision. They beat, again, 2 locals. They are going to have their match, I believe, next week against Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne. Then the main event, Roderick Strong, Jon Moxley. This was huge as well. Just as shocking as the tag team match that opened the show, they bookended it with something just as shocking. You look at that, I feel like most of you out there were like, okay, Moxley's just going to fucking win. I mean, come on. But guess what? He lost in a really, really good main event match. He gets his leg held under the apron and loses to a countout. And this is my Maverick moment right here. Take a look.
And look at the death threat. Was that Wheeler Yuta? That was Yes! There it is! Oh, with a Shocking.
How beautiful is that? When Darby Allin said that he was coming after Moxley and the Death Riders and was going to take everything from him, he is really proving that to be true. He is standing by his word. He screwed over Moxley yet again and gave Roderick Strong the win. And the conglomeration and Darby Allin get the advantage in their blood and guts match. Really good episode of Collision. I want to talk about blood and guts next. Who do I see winning? We'll start with the women's. Ladies first. I think that the heel women's team is going to win the women's blood and guts match, because I really do think that they need to push Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Tekla, I think, deserves to be champ at some point. I just think that it makes more sense, at least right now, for the women to go over on the heel team. On the flip side, for the men's team, I really do think that Death Riders are slowly coming to an end. They've been around for about a year and a half now, I believe, or somewhere around there. And I think this is going to be another loss for Moxley. I think Darby Allin's going to get the pin to win at the very end. Darby Allin's going to stand tall. He's going to really propel himself up to the main title picture after this ends, because I think this will finally end it. I think not only when Darby said that he's going to take everything from Moxley and the Death Riders, it wasn't just that title. I think he's going to take the Death Riders from themselves. I think he's going to have them continue to lose. They're going to lose faith in Moxley. Maybe they kick him out. I'm not sure. But I think the whole entire Death Riders group is just going to slowly sizzle out and disband. Darby Allin's going to be the cause of that. Lastly, let's get on to some exciting AEW news that I really wanted to talk about to close out this video. Right up here, we've got word that from Collision last night, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat will appear on a special episode of Dynamite next week. It looks like AEW has invited Flair and Steamboat to come and announce that Sting will be the first inductee into the AEW Hall of Fame. I've been saying for the last year or so that AEW should probably think about starting a Hall of Fame here pretty soon. They've exceeded 6 years, and I think that's plenty of time to really start deep diving into your roster, your past roster, and starting a Hall of Fame. And who none better than Sting to introduce into that Hall of Fame. I also think Brody Lee should be introduced into that Hall of Fame. And there's so many other names. Dustin Rhodes will probably retire with AEW. He'll definitely be inducted into the AEW Hall of Fame. Even though the rumors might be true of Jericho going over back to WWE to finish off his career, I think you still have to have him included in the AEW Hall of Fame because of how important his role was to start AEW in 2019 and so forth. So you let me know down below your thoughts about AEW potentially starting a Hall of Fame soon. Who would be your inductees that you would induct? Just give me a list of like five wrestlers to start. That's all I had on this longer episode of Screw the Script. I haven't uploaded in a handful of days. Really busy week. The holidays are really busy for me. I've got a family, 3 kids, and her and I have just been really busy with planning the holidays. So I hope you can understand that, but I take as much time as I can when I can to pump out content for you guys, give you my viewpoint on it all. Let me know down below your thoughts on the SmackDown ratings, the ticket sales, all of that stuff with WWE, your favorite part of Collision, and, again, the Hall of Fame stuff and who you would induct into the AEW Hall of Fame. As always, this has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.